Well, howdy there, Internet people. It's Dee again, and welcome to the Interstate with Dee. Today is Saturday, September 6th, 2025. Welcome back to our trip on the Interstate. What we do here is present news from the state level that will end up having national importance later, or news that made it into the national news cycle but was overshadowed. Then we go over some questions from y'all. On this date, September 6th, in 1989, reporting broke that roughly 41,000 people in Paris who were accused of minor traffic violations received letters ordering them to pay fines. That's normal. What wasn't normal is that due to a computer glitch, the letters said they had to pay fines for crimes like murder instead of their actual traffic violation. Today is National Read a Book Day. Okay, and on to the news. Alabama is set to have Space Command, not Space Force, move to Huntsville, at least for the moment. Expect legal battles and a possible reversal later. California is uniting with Oregon and Washington to create a healthcare alliance to protect access to vaccines. Elsewhere in the state, lightning strikes caused a wildfire that destroyed the historic gold mining town named Chinese Camp. Still elsewhere, California won its battle against Trump's troop deployment. The judge said it appears to be an intentional violation of the laws governing domestic use of law enforcement. Colorado issued an order allowing people to get a COVID vaccine without a prescription. Guam was reminded of its international importance when a military parade in China showcased the DF-26 missile. Its nickname is the Guam Killer. Some Illinois National Guard troops are speaking out against a possible deployment by Trump. They're saying it undermines the credibility of the National Guard. Indiana's governor is creating a new office to fight utility hikes. Maybe, just maybe, getting renewables online faster would help with that. In Louisiana, Republicans were shocked to hear Trump suggest deploying the National Guard to New Orleans soon. Maryland's governor has indicated he will fight any potential troop deployment, but also signaled willingness to accept federal law enforcement assistance. Massachusetts has seen its second case of West Nile virus. Missouri lawmakers kicked off a session to redistrict and limit ballot initiatives. Minnesota border towns are saying the lack of Canadian visitors is a, quote, grave concern. Nebraska is set to lose $216 million in revenue. Nevada is having issues with COVID vaccine availability. In New Hampshire, former Republican Senator John Sununu is considering Senate comeback bid. Puerto Rico is seeing U.S. forces practice amphibious landings. Some are drawing a connection to Venezuela. Our network says a full-scale invasion is unlikely at this point. North and South Dakota have reported avian flu in some turkeys. A judge in South Carolina has blocked the state from turning over voter information to the Trump administration. Tennessee found itself on the FBI's top 10 list of most violent cities twice. Memphis is number 1, and Nashville is number 8. Trump mentioned sending in troops. A law in Texas is requiring some hospitals to have bereavement counseling services available to handle an 8% increase in the infant death rate and a 23% increase in babies dying from birth defects. This appears to be the unintended consequence of restricting reproductive rights. Also in Texas, An 11-year-old boy was allegedly shot in the back after playing Ding Dong Ditch and ringing the doorbell and running away. The suspected shooter has been charged with first-degree murder. And here's your weird state fact for this week. New Orleans, Louisiana had a federal troop deployment in 1814 under Andrew Jackson that was so controversial and so out of line that it is still used to teach about martial law today. Okay, so moving on to the question and answer portion of the show. Question number 1. Are they really paying $1 million per day for National Guard troops to do trash cleanup and beautification in D.C.? It's not exactly $1 million per day, and they also stand around a lot. But yeah, pretty much. Question number 2. I saw a report that said Chicago residents, even in the violent parts, don't want the National Guard there. Can you explain why that might be? The last thing people without money want is more unaccountable men with guns running around their neighborhoods. They don't trust them. They see it as just another avenue for them to be harassed. Question number 3. First, I had total decision paralysis over who to send this to. Then I realized you probably divided up anyway. It's science, but I'm pretty sure almost all of you have medical training. I'll never forget you all predicting which tropical diseases would spread to the United States in which order years before it happened in a throwaway line in a video. Now that we have some states getting rid of vaccination requirements, how long until it starts to show and which ones will happen first? Yes, we all read through the messages and pick unless they're specifically addressed to somebody. And yes, we all have some training, but most of it is emergency medicine, which is very different than this. We do have somebody trained in infection control and somebody who had a lot of training on biological weapons. Talk about nightmare fuel. Neither of them felt comfortable making a prediction, but they have friends. The general consensus is that it's educated guesswork until we know how many people will get their kids vaccinated without a mandate. But the guesses ranged from 18 to 36 months for it to start to show, and 5 to 7 years for it to be, quote, game on. The one thing everybody agreed on is that measles will probably be first, followed by pertussis. But it all depends on how many people exercise their right to get sick from a vaccine-preventable disease. Okay, that looks like it. We'll see you next week for another trip. Y'all have a good day.